And now to the blockbuster exhibition of the year, perhaps of many years, a celebration of Leonardo da Vinci, 500 years after his death. Lines are long, tickets hard to come by to see the work of an artist who was born in Italy and died in France, and who came to define what we mean by Renaissance man. Jeffrey Brown, of course, got there before the crowds, and he has our report. It's part of our ongoing Canvas, coverage of arts and culture.
Leonardo da Vinci thought of painting as a science, even the greatest science, requiring constant research and experimentation. How, for example, do light and shadow create a sense of movement, of life? What's beneath the surface of bodies or rock formations, and how does that affect the way they appear to our eyes? How can human emotions emerge from the most subtle and nearly endless applications of paint?
His contemporaries, and still today, when we have a look at his paintings, we are amazed because they look like nothing other.
Vincent de Louvain is co-curator of an exhibition now at Paris's Louvre Museum.
He decided to base his art on science, but as he wanted to reproduce all nature, he had to understand all the nature. So he took a long time studying geometry, mathematics, optics, botanic, anatomy, everything on Earth to be able to reproduce it in his paintings.
On display, some 160 works, including pages of notebooks showing Leonardo's endless curiosity. Studies by a young Leonardo are paired with a magnificent sculpture by his teacher, Verrocchio. There are drawings, the famous Vitruvian Man, a study of human proportions, a swirling deluge, a lovely and delicate Madonna and Child. And then there are the paintings. Only about 15 surviving paintings can be confidently attributed to Leonardo. Experts differ on the exact number. But 9 of them are here, all world famous, even if not all finished. Leonardo worked on his canvases for years, experimenting with an effect he called sfumato, the smoky shadings that create blended transitions between shadow and light, tones and colors. The result, lifelike vibrations, as in the late portrait of St. John the Baptist.
On the face, it's absolutely wonderful, and please have a look at the wonderful lip, the nose, and give the impression of vibration to the smile, and give life to the expression.
A big reason the Louvre alone could pull off this exhibition is that Leonardo spent the last years of his life here in France, and he brought with him several important paintings to a large home about 2 hours from here.
In the Loire Valley town of Amboise, we joined French writer Serge Bramley.
I mean, we call Leonardo the Renaissance man. I know you.
Author of an acclaimed 1988 biography of Leonardo that he's continued to update.
Leonardo was looking for a patron who had some ambitions, the same ambition he had.
Which was what?
Which was everything.
Everything, yeah.
The powerful patron, King Francis I, gave Leonardo a chateau called Clos Lucé, a short walk from the royal castle. By that time, in his 60s, Leonardo sported his bearded philosopher look, familiar from a portrait by a younger contemporary that's shown in the Louvre. By all accounts, walking the gardens here and throughout his life, Leonardo was outgoing and had many friends.
Freedom was so important for Leonardo.
He was gay and also a vegan, opposed to killing animals.
How did people in his time see him? I mean, that even the King of France would want to bring him.
Yeah, sure.
Here.
They were astonished, just like we are, because they couldn't understand how one man could do so many things and at the same time be the most handsome, the most pretty, good-looking man, incredible singer, musician, horseman. They called him Divino, divine.
Inside the chateau, a recreation of Leonardo's life here, including a studio with reproductions of 2 of the paintings he brought with him and continued to work on.
Leonardo says that in his work there are 2 steps. The first one he called imitazione, to catch the exact image of something, like with photography. But that's not art. Mirrors do that all the time, and mirrors are not very arty. Yeah. The second step is what he called idea, or concetto, the idea, the concept behind it. Leonardo wrote a lot about his art. He says, painting is a fiction. It's not reality. Mm-hmm. It's a fiction, but it's a fiction that tells great things. But also you have to move the viewer. If it's just pretty, it's not enough. Mm-hmm. It has to do something to your emotions, to your heart, to your brain. Mm-hmm. It has to move you and change you.
The greatest example of all, of course, is back at the Louvre, the Mona Lisa. And this is as close as any of us will likely ever get. Given its enormous popularity, some 30,000 visitors a day crowding and selfieing through, museum officials have kept it in its regular space. But it is in the exhibition in an infrared reflectograph version that exposes the lines beneath the surface of the most famous smile in art history. More insight into how Leonardo worked. One painting not here, the still controversial Salvator Mundi. After several leading experts decided it is by Leonardo.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we move to the Leonardo da Vinci, the Salvator Mundi.
It sold at auction in 2017.
And the piece is sold
for a record $450 million. Here instead, a copy from the same period. And there were other curatorial dramas, including a last-minute lawsuit to keep the fragile Vitruvian Man from leaving its home in Venice. The suit failed, making curator Vincent de Louvain a happy, if tired, man.
Everybody in the Louvre Museum is today absolutely conscious that that was the most difficult exhibition we ever organized.
This was the most difficult?
The most difficult, clearly. You know, when you are a curator of an exhibition, you are a little bit crazy, you want everything. But at the end, so what we wanted to say on Leonardo da Vinci is already there and expressed with the works we have here.
Leonardo da Vinci was 67 when he died in Amboise in 1519. Outside the small chapel where he was laid to rest, Serge Bramley reflected on his lasting impact.
It's the kind of model for today's man, woman, of a man so curious of everything that he says it's not impossible to understand life, things, the creation.
The Louvre's Leonardo exhibition runs through February 24th, 2020. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Jeffrey Brown in Paris.